to the back, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I got a very special solo show for you guys here today. And again, like I had mentioned a while back, I'm going to start incorporating more solo shows into the mix to really focus on the nuts and the bolts of everything, market reports and, training, development, all of that stuff. Because frankly, at the end of the day, you guys, I just can't sit here and talk about a lot of the doom and gloom that's out there nonstop. It's actually highly annoying to me to pull up my feeds on every single social media site and only see the negatives flowing through there about everything. And again, I get it. If it bleeds, it reads, it gets clicks, it gets, all of that fun stuff that people could package up and sell to their advertisers. And it's just a stance that I'm not going to take. I haven't taken it for 5 years now, and I'm not going to take it moving forward with it. And again, it could possibly come at a cost for myself, right? Because like if I took the doom and gloom route and only talked about that, I could probably 10x my viewership on my stuff. And that would be great for my bottom line, because I could go out there and sell a higher price point to my advertisers. But like, I don't want to do that, you guys. I want to focus on winning. How do we win no matter what? Because like, I got everything on the line for all of this stuff to work. And I'm going to continue to put that information out there, education, insight for the industry by people who are actually doing this job. But, we're going to talk about the market here shortly. We do have some industry headlines to break down, because there was some pretty big things that did come about here over this past week that directly affect our industry. And that's just what we'll always do. But let's get into a little freight market report. And with what's going on out there, you guys, and again, I do have some cool stuff coming up here on doing more of the actual rates and stuff and seeing that. I'm just working out all that stuff on the back end here with a potential partner. We're getting all the iron, all of it ironed out here. But again, we're going to put a lot more emphasis on this, you guys. It's going to be more frequently out there, because again, I just want to help people read the freight market. Because from my seat, somebody who's been selling freight for over 15 years now, a lot of people focus on the micro changes, and they make macro decisions based on micro changes, and it costs them business. And I want to teach you guys how to do a 30, 60, 90-day freight market analysis. I also want to help you guys look out at the long term, the 12-month, the rolling 12-month, and some of those factors that come along with it, because it's not as volatile as a lot of people like to make you want to think it is. And again, this is just coming from somebody who actually moves freight. So again, there's that caveat. And then the other caveat is I did go to public school. So that might discredit me a little bit, but that's where we're at with this. But anyways, guys, what's going on in the freight market right now? Overall spot market stability. Load posts are down slightly out there, and truck posts did rise here slightly. Rates did hold steady, excuse me. Dry van was at $2.06. Reefer was at $2.45, which was up just a little bit. Flatbeds are unchanged out there. And again, if you move flatbed at the level that I move flatbed, you know that it's going to probably taper off here a little bit. I know there's still some markets where some road construction and some building can continue kind of throughout the year. But again, you'll see that as half the country starts to be pounded with snow, a lot of that stuff is going to slow down. So you will definitely start seeing some flatbed rates changing out here and starting to reduce as we head into the non-peak seasons out there. But again, with drive-in and reefer, again, it's just a capacity thing, you guys. There's still a lot of trucks that are out on the road. So I don't know if we're going to see any spike for a peak season for pricing. And I'm not saying that there aren't going to be pockets that will experience that, because I'm sure there's going to be pockets of it. But again, if we're just looking at it as an overall market, it's been stable here, even with all of the stuff that's going on out there. Wine haul, excuse me. So rates are 3 cents for dry van. You guys, again, if we look at a year over year analysis here, rates are up 3 cents year over year, which again, to some isn't much. But if you look at it, and this is why I like to talk about this, if we're looking at the stability aspect of it, because, you know, if you look at a lot of the headlines that you see out there right now, people are guessing that like everything's going to fall apart. And that capacity is going to tighten up. There's not going to be any trucks out there. Rates are going to skyrocket. And again, if we're looking at present terms right now, rates haven't changed much. And again, if you look at that year over year mark, that 3 cents, if we're looking at it on a 1,000-mile run, for easy math, it pays $2 a mile. You know, we're talking, and then it was at $2,000, and now there's a 3 cents change out there. It's only a $30 difference, right? $2,030 is what that rate is going to look like. So nothing to go in and change any pricing from that perspective. And that's the data points that I want people to start paying attention to as you're going through this, because you have to be able to offer stability, especially inside of spot market pricing, to your customers. You need to give them stability. They want that consistent price out there. And when you operate a little bit further downstream and you're using the same carriers time and time again, your rates don't change, like hardly at all. We're very insulated inside of my operation because, like, again, you guys, 80% of the freight, 85% of the freight I book is with the same handful of trucking companies. So that's the stability that I can offer out there. Even if capacity tightened up and everything else, I'm going to be able to hold out just a little bit longer than everybody else, because my carriers are going to be pretty much operating in the same capacity. So, you know, again, talking about reefer, just overall the reefer market, it's an unusual pre-holiday softness. All right. So again, what's that saying? Capacity is not leaving the market as fast as everybody wanted you to think just a couple of weeks ago. And this is the whole point, you guys. I don't want you to make long-term decisions on a micro event that eventually will iron out. If we're looking at it from a loads available to a trucks available perspective, I think that there's a lot of capacity that still needs to leave the market. And again, I'm just talking about legal capacity. I want to be abundantly clear here. All the trucks out there that are running illegally right now, we don't know about them anyway, so we can't really count that. And then again, obviously flatbeds as a whole, the market's down a little bit, 6%. Load postings have dropped, 9% equipment postings have dropped. And that just has everything to do with the fact that it's going to, in the next couple of weeks, it's just going to be flat for the foreseeable future in flatbed, because building's not happening out there. And if we're looking at it, the reefer market, it does remain seasonally soft. The Midwest did hold steady. Shout out to the Midwest as a whole. But again, overall, it is steady out there. In November, we're coming up on, Thanksgiving holiday, Christmas holiday, and everything. And normally you start seeing a lot of tightness that comes along. And it could happen, right? Again, I want to caveat, it could happen yet. But overall, it doesn't look like anything's changing. All right. So again, don't make any macro decisions based on a micro event. And I think that that's what we saw here over the last couple of weeks. I know social media makes it look like every truck is shut down and everyone was running illegally and everything else, but that's just not the case, right? Ironically, people only highlight the same couple of clips out there. And when you dig a little bit further, you realize most of these people who are posting about this industry don't even fucking work in the industry. But hey, that's a conversation for another day. And then overall, you guys, so I pull from multiple data sets for this freight market report that I'm providing to you guys. If we're looking at it, here are some things. Again, we were talking about the spot market being stable out there. And then it's overall, if we're looking at it from a capacity standpoint and a tightening standpoint, it shows that it is starting to shrink, again, but like not enough to cause any massive spikes or anything out there as a whole. Again, there's a difference between pockets in this happening in, and then like overall in the market, right? So I'm not ever going to sit here and say that there aren't going to be pockets of tightness and pockets of rates rising out there, because that happens, right? It's just a basic supply and demand. But if we're talking overarching here, it just hasn't drained capacity as fast as I think, again, people a couple of weeks ago were thinking that it was going to happen. Freight demand is still lagging out there. Tender volumes are still 15% below 2024 levels. I think that's a key data point out there, you guys. 15% decrease in tender volumes. That's a big number, and then people are guessing. Again, this is all a guess. And if you pull this back, it's always been Q2, right? It's always like Q2 or late Q4 or whatever. It's just the goalpost keeps fucking moving, you guys, on when there's going to be a recovery. I'm just going to come out and say, I think the way it's going to go down, everyone's going to leave work on a Friday. Everything's going to seemingly be soft and everything else. And then we're going to come in on a Monday and it's going to be mayhem. That's my bold prediction. I don't know when that is going to happen at all. But like, I just look at it is it just keeps getting pushed out, right? I think there is way too much hinging on the macroeconomic levels to see any meaningful change for the foreseeable future. I could see the current market staying this way for almost all of 2026. I could see that happening, right? Do I want it to happen? Absolutely not. I could see that being a thing, because I'm going to wait to put my bold 2026 market prediction out there. But like, I don't think it's going to get any better for a while. I actually think it could possibly get worse here coming up. I think it still could get worse. And that is probably not going to make a lot of people happy. I get it, because like my business is completely hinging on the success of the freight market improving and everything else. But I look at it is that there's still a lot that could happen that could cause the market to not recover anytime soon. So I think that, again, we have to continue to find a way to win no matter what. And that was my whole point of the post the other day. I want people to focus on what can you do to move that needle forward no matter what's going on in the freight market, because there's a lot of shit that can happen. And there's a lot of stuff that's outside of our control. And again, there was a big ruling that just happened the other day about it in DC, right? So there's a lot of shit that could happen. And I think a lot of people are, again, I get it. I understand why people are trying to attach their entire identity to something being the thing that's going to change things. I just don't see anything meaningful happening anytime soon. And especially, I think we're even further out from shippers opening up their doors to new providers coming in. I really do. I think that is even further down the road than most people will openly admit to it. Because again, if capacity tightens up and rates rise, they're going to look to their current network to be able to service it. And you would be extremely naive to think that there aren't plenty of brokers and trucking companies with the ability to take on more volume at any given moment. That's why I'm saying it could be later next year, if not 2027, before some people might feel the need to even open up their doors to other providers. But again, that's just my honest assessment. It's bad for my business too, but I'm just saying that if there is any meaningful change out there that could happen, you guys, it might be a little bit further off from a new provider's perspective than you think. You will definitely probably see an increase of freight from your current customers, right? I could see that happening, but like from a new business perspective, that could be a ways off yet. Again, not trying to be doom and gloom by any of this. I just want you guys to know my unfiltered opinion on what I think is actually going on out here, because like, I'm not trying to fucking sell you a subscription to shit, right? Like, I'm in the trenches with you guys. I don't want to be saying some of this stuff, right? Like, I would love to sit up here and be pie in the sky and everything's going to be great and we're all going to be bazillionaires in the next 6 months. But like, I just try and call balls and strikes as I see them. And like I always say, you guys, I could be fucking wrong. I don't know. This is just based on everything I'm assessing right now and seeing where things are. So let's get in to, you guys, sorry, I got some 1P energy here, first form energy, because it's a little bit later in the day. And I like to switch up my caffeine sources throughout the day. But first article we are going to break down is from ttnews.com. And it is about the government shutdown seemingly coming to an end as the Senate passed the deal and it's prepping for a House vote. It looks like Speaker Johnson called in everybody to come in and vote for that. And then again, it passed. Obviously, the Senate came to a 60-40 vote with nearly all Republicans and 8 Democrats backing the measure to reopen the government. And this will fund the government through January and early February, restore pay for furlough federal workers, and halt further layoffs for now. However, it does not include an extension for health insurance premium tax credits under the Affordable Care Act. I find that acronym extremely ironic, considering that our healthcare costs were it was just a subsidiary. It was subsidized, excuse me, by tax dollars. So therefore, like healthcare didn't drop at all. And I am out here looking at my premiums because again, I am self-employed, right? So like I have to buy private insurance for myself and my family, and I'm looking at almost like an 80% increase between 2025 and 2026. We're all healthy. Yes, I have some pre-existing medical conditions that come along with it, but like I also look at it it's been overinflated by how successful that was. And we're not here to argue about health insurance costs and everything yet, but I look at it from my standpoint, coming back and looking at it now, that was a waste of 42 days of a shutdown. People were clearly trying to prove a point, and that point was not made. And it was at the expense of the American public. Plain and simple. That's all that was. We were used as pawns to try and push an agenda with a lever that was only able to be pulled through this way. And again, if you do not know how the federal government works, you guys, and when we're talking about this, needing a supermajority of votes and everything, that's why it was a 60-40, because I saw a lot of talking points out there of like, oh, the Republicans control everything. Why don't they just open it? You need a supermajority for some of these votes that come along with it. And when it comes to passing the budget and furthering that, that's where the supermajority comes into play with it. Federal workers suffered from it. The American public suffered from it. Air travel being highly disrupted out there for a lot of people. And then I think that, again, the focus is it's great that they're going to reopen it, but like this is a temporary fix. This could very well still happen again in early 2026. And again, welcome to politics in the United States. They'll do whatever they have to do to try and fuck the other party over. And that goes to both parties here. That's not just a left versus right thing. I just think that every time this happens, I lose even more trust in the government. And that's at like a very bare minimum at its current state. But when I see stuff like this, and then they're just playing with all of our lives, it just nothing irritates me more than that. So I just look at it as it's great, but I think we also need to hold our elected officials highly accountable. Call your senators, call your congressmen, do it, voice your opinion, right? Like some of you might not think that it matters out there. I might be naive to think that my voice does matter. And I'm going to continue to exercise that right, no matter what. And it's highly unacceptable that our government has the ability to shut down in this capacity and put people's livelihoods at risk. All of those federal workers that were expected to show up and work because they were critical and they weren't getting paid, like that's a slap in the face to them. Every single one of our elected officials should be held accountable for this. This is ridiculous. And this is a nonpartisan statement at all. People on the left and the right, you guys, they're fucking with our ability to create business, to operate freely in this country, to travel freely in this country. I think, if anything, what this showed is this was their ability to take away our ability to freely travel in this country. That's an infringement on our freedoms right there. I don't ever condone, like I will always vehemently be against that. Scott, what's up, man? He says, oh, sorry, that I didn't see this, man. My apologies. He did say being furloughed in 2013 was one of the reasons why I'm in freight now. Well, I'm glad you got furloughed because you're in freight now, Scott. I would hate to have this industry not have you be a part of it, my friend. But yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that stuff happened. But again, you guys, ttnews.com is where that article came from. I hope it gets reopened. I hope it stays open. I hope that they can, not make the American public suffer because those guys can't get on the same page over there in DC. And again, my faith is very low that that's going to happen. But next big thing that comes along, all of that talk about the non-domiciled CDLs. put on pause. Who would have thought that the courts would have gotten involved in that? And again, you guys, this is why it's so important to not attach your entire identity to one issue. And I'm not sitting here saying that I'm a fan of, I am America first unapologetically. If you've listened to my show in any capacity at all, you understand that at this point. But I look at it is there's a lot of stuff that gets released out there that can be blocked in the courts, right? So it's like when you see one political party out there spewing any direction of a talking point, you have to take it from the standpoint that like there's a very high probability that it'll get struck down in court or at least paused in court. So again, keep that in mind. But overall, I look at it is this came out of the U.S. Court of Appeals in D.C. They have put a pause on the interim final rule that would sharply limit the issuance of CDLs and commercial learners permits to individuals who are not domiciled in the United States. The rule went into effect out there, and it does affect certain visas, H-2A, H-2B, and E-2, and excludes categories like asylum seekers, refugees, DACA recipients, etc. The FMCSA justified the rule by pointing to concerns about state licensing agencies that were out there. The court stay does not rule on the merits of the case. It simply halts enforcement for now, so the legal review can proceed. Potential implications, you guys, is that state licensing agencies may revert back to this, but there's just a lot of uncertainty that comes along with it. I look at it as, and I've said this before on the show, and I'm going to say it again. If you are here and you're operating under a work visa, and you did everything right by according to the law, I don't write the laws. Like, I have no problem with that. But what I think a lot of this overlooks is the fact that there's an ability for people to operate illegally. And that's where I think the main focus should be. That's why I'm in favor of stopping the issuance of, I would even go as far as all CDLs in the interim until they can figure this out. I don't think it would take that long to figure a lot of this out. And that might be a bold take, but it still doesn't stop the fact that there are people out there who don't care about the law, and they're going to do whatever they want in this situation. I look at it is we need a level playing field. All right. There should be when it comes to a federal guideline or law, no state should be able to skirt that ruling, especially when it comes to the safety of the motoring public, because I look at it where we should have high standards for people who are operating commercial vehicles on the road. I think that you should have to prove your ability to read and write in English to be able to read the road signs. I truly feel like that should be a given that's out there. I look at it that the FMCSA should take a lot stronger stance on a lot of this stuff. I just look at it, you guys, that there should be such an act, like, people should highly question if they want to break the law or not. Like, if they come to this, people should be punished so severely that it deters other people from doing this. I think we're kind of at a point now where that is where it is from, the amount of things that you see that come out. I look at it is we want people who are compliant with our laws, with our rules, with our regulations, because I am, as a taxpayer, if I don't, I get thrown in jail. Eventually, I'm sure that would happen, but there shouldn't be any loopholes. And why I say it should be paused for an extended period of time, whether it's with the work visas or the CDLs, is there should be such strict repercussions for people who break the law in this country, especially when we're talking about operating a semi illegally that puts people's lives at risk on the road, that you should never be able, you should highly question if it's even worth doing that. Because the punishment is so severe. I'm talking life imprisonment style shit. That's what should happen. It should be that severe, because when you put people's lives at risk out there on the freeways, you guys. And when there's loopholes that allow somebody to potentially do that, and then there's no repercussions for their actions, I think that's what ultimately drives this. So from my standpoint, with a lot of this, they need to do a temporary pause. And again, I get it. The courts are going to block this. They're going to, do what they do at the expense of our tax dollars, but we won't go there right now. I think that there has to be a hard line in the sand. They have to pause it for an extended period of time. And then they should make the punishment so severe that if you break the law in this regard, where you're found that you are operating a semi-illegally and putting the motoring public at risk, it should be life in prison. Like, it's got to be so severe that people question, is it worth doing this? And I just don't think that we're there yet. And I hope that happens because, again, it's not going to cause a driver shortage. That's a myth. That's been a myth for anybody with half a brain that's been working in this industry. I don't think that there's going to be any economic impacts on fleets. I think that there is plenty of capacity on the road right now to weather this. I think if there is any time where you can do it, it would be right now. I truly feel that way. And then I think that, again, it would, if there's a set standard, it could eliminate all state confusion about the implementation of this stuff. Again, I feel like if you're going to operate a CDL, if you're going to be an interstate CDL holder where you are going to cross state lines, there should be one federal standard that everybody needs to be held to. And I would even say, even if you are intrastate, it should be held to the exact same standard. Again, I think that we got to eliminate the gray areas here. And then it has to be found that if you have violated the law, you are punished so severely that it deters everybody else coming after that to think, is it worth it? And that's what I would like to see come about this. But, again, we'll see. And then I don't know if we're going to have enough time to get into the third article, but the third article, it's about tariffs. And there's a lot of stuff that could come about here, you guys, in the sense of it's being fought in the Supreme Court right now. And then this case could limit or expand presidential powers in trade policies. It could force Congress to more tightly define how much power it delegates in major economic decisions. And then the outcome has real economic stakes as the tariffs brought in billions in revenue. And again, I'm not here to argue about who pays for that stuff right now, but I look at it when it comes, like, again, I'm unapologetically pro-American. I'm unapologetically wanting to see a America first. Yes, 100% death by stoning publicly. But I look at it as, the reindustrialization of the United States is imperative to the long-term success of our country. And again, I will always point back to what happened during COVID. The ability that another country could shut down their borders and essentially cut us off to receive important goods to keep our country going. That should never happen to the most developed nation in the world, which everybody in the United States wants to say that we are. Like, we should be 100% self-sufficient. We should export our goods and we should import our goods as like a luxury, not as a necessity, in trying to put it as in simple terms as possible. That comes along with it, because I've read history books, you guys, and if you want to cut off a country and have them, not operate, you just cut off their supply chain. And if you're a country like the United States that is dependent upon global trade to operate, what stops our adversaries from shutting everything off? Like, honestly, what stops that? And that's where I like to think of this. So that's why I'm a long-term fan of the reindustrialization of the United States, building this stuff up. I understand that it could take 15, 20 years to make a lot of that stuff happen. But I look at it as in the short term, yes, tariffs. Like, we got to, I also look at it, you guys, like, we got to pay off our national debt. Like, we got to pull any economic lever we can to raise revenues to possibly pay off our debt. And it's going to be uncomfortable in the short term, I think. I think ultimately, you guys, we have to accept the fact that we are dealing with the ignorance of our ancestors that allowed us to get to this point. But we got to stop it, right? Because I don't want my kids to have to deal with this. I don't want, when my son is my age, to be like, damn, we're $50 trillion in debt now. How are we ever going to go? You got to draw a hard line in the sand. It sucks. And I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I look at it as we need to fix stuff, and we need to fix stuff quick. our jugular is exploding right now. Like, we only have a couple of milliliters of blood left inside of us before I think that we have greater consequences coming our way. And again, you could argue about the legality of it, presidential overreach, and those are all valid points that you can make an argument of. But like, at the end of the day, we got to fix stuff, and we got to fix it quick, and we got to do something. And drastic times call for drastic measures, you guys, at the end of the day. But that will be it. That was a brief thing on tariffs. And again, you guys, we're going to be doing a lot more freight market report stuff. We're going to be talking about more on those best practices. I'm going to try and get it into at least once a week, if not multiple times a week, where we'll be evolving the show into like more of a segment based with that, you guys, because at the end of the day, I'm going to win no matter what. That's my stance. I made that decision. I burnt the boats. I'm going to find a way to win no matter what market is going on out there. And that will be it. But we're going to be live tomorrow at the LTNA conference just down the street from me here in Phoenix tomorrow. We do have a guest on the show. You guys won't want to miss that one because it's one of those enterprise shippers. Your boy had 2 shippers on this week for you guys to learn from, right? You don't have to listen to me. Hear it from the people who are actual decision makers out there and what they expect and want from their providers, because I just want to help you guys win as much as I can. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the bank.